We'll do a roll call. Chris Bowl.
Here.
Chris Patchell. Pam Rowland.
Here.
Paul Tenney.
Here.
Benjamin Stanley.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Benjamin.
Present.
Michael Harrison. Michael, you're on here. Joseph Buckman.
Present.
Sean Fletcher.
Present in Kalamazoo. I think because we're a city appointed board, we do need to mention if we're in the city.
Oh.
So unless you're not, let us know where you're at.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It looks like we're missing commission liaison Eric Cunningham. Sean, it doesn't look like we have any guests.
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
I do want to add one, and I'll be quiet. We won't talk about it now like last time. If you guys would like to set the dates where you'd like to meet in certain parks and which parks those would be, we don't have to do it today. I was just thinking you could let us know and we can make those arrangements for the future. So if you want to add it to the agenda or put it on next agenda, that's fine.
Why don't we have Shannon do that next month?
Okay, I'll have her add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Hey, John, can we add the skate park in Upjohn Park being closed and the graffiti issues with that to the agenda? I want to discuss that briefly.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's put that under new business. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at last month's minutes?
Yes.
Any questions, comments, changes, corrections? Do I
Motion
have,
to approve it.
do I have
I'll
a
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that's passed.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask if there's a way we can review previous minutes from last year, the November, October meeting minutes. I didn't see them available online. I wondered if there's a way to kind of review them before we move too far advance.
We'll get them
Not
to you.
tonight, but.
Yep.
So they will be on the website, Sean,
Okay.
correct?
I'm not sure. They'll either be on the website or I will get them sent to the new board members.
Okay, thank you. New business, our 2021 department preview.
So that was a document that I sent as an attachment. So hopefully you had a chance to review that. That's really just to give people an idea of the things that we will be working on in 2021. Kind of a sampling, if you will, and some of the highlights, certainly not everything, but I just wanted to give everybody an idea of the things that we would be working on heading into 2021. Obviously, several projects and then just some initiatives that we have. So just wanted to share that and give you an idea of where we were headed for 2021.
Sean, I don't know if everyone's gone through that document yet, but there is some really cool stuff in there.
Really?
Like highlighting a Nerf gun battle in the parks or a skate contest at Davis Street. I think among many other things, that's really exciting, especially for the kids.
Yeah, we know that market, the preteen, if you will, and teens. We really need to do more work in that area. And we're actually in the process of evaluating our youth council applicants. We received, I think, 67 applicants. So that's awesome. We had a handful that don't live in the city, so they won't be eligible, obviously, but looking to narrow that down to 13 to 15 youth. And then we really want to get their insight into what types of activities that we would offer for that age group. So we know we need to do more in that area, but we want to get their input and have them help us in that regard. So we're really looking forward to that.
Excuse me, who's gonna be looking at the applications? Who's gonna be a part of that team?
So we're looking, we have an internal team that's reviewing. We're looking at people from different gender, different races, different neighborhoods. We're trying to get good representation from all the different neighborhoods. And obviously we want people that have experience, but we also are looking for people that don't necessarily have any experience, because how else do you get it unless you become part of a board like that or a council like that? So really looking at a lot of different applicants. So, and if we have to, if we have an underrepresented group, we're certainly not afraid to go back out and encourage people to apply again.
Hey, Sean, that just makes me think of the missing board member that we usually have a youth spot on our board.
Yep.
That's different.
So the thought is to get that group going and have that chairperson or vice chair or whatever system they set up to govern themselves. We really want them to determine that as well. We don't want to dictate to them how things have to work.
Sure.
But the thought is to have somebody from that group be a representative on the PRAB board.
Cool.
Sean, I particularly like the graffiti garden at Upjohn Park. Do you have some specifics on that? Like,
Yeah, so nothing super fancy. I think we're looking at utilizing 4x4 posts and 4x8 sheets of plywood, and then just kind of priming them and then working with local artists, some who could be teens or younger folks. But the thought is just to kind of give a pop of color to that area in Upjohn, and just, you know, I think it'd be a fun project. We're looking, that's kind of been it's been discussed for about 4 years. So shame on us for not making it happen sooner, but we're kind of looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be fun.
I think it's a great idea. One concern I did have is that's actually the area where I have seen gang graffiti. And I'm wondering how we could monitor that so that we're not encouraging more gang graffiti.
So we're thinking, so if you know where I guess it would be the north end of the Kalamazoo River Valley Trail comes across, we're looking at that triangular piece of property between Upjohn and Crosstown Parkway, and then I guess that, what street is the next street? I always get that one mixed up.
Is that Vine Street?
Vine, yeah. So there's that kind of triangular shaped piece of property. We were thinking if we put it there, there's plenty of traffic, plenty of light, and the hope is that, you know, it wouldn't get as much tagging as some other areas. So, and, you know, we can kind of play it by ear. The other thought was that if you have people invested in creating that artwork, that hopefully it would be respected, but we got to try it and see what happens. And just, you know, if we have to adjust, we'll adjust a little.
Right. One question I had, it looks like we're looking to replace the Youth Development Center building.
Someday. That's contingent on funding. We're actually involved in a feasibility study right now, looking at, you know, potential locations, what types of spaces, and we're going to get our youth council's input on that. But we're really just kind of looking at what's possible, you know, what would people like, where would it be located? And the next step really is to have a conversation with city leadership to understand, you know, where it might fit in the capital planning. What I don't want to have happen is do a lot of legwork and talk about building a youth and teen facility and have it take as long as the farmer's market took to get completed. So I don't want a farmer's market 2.0. If it's something we can do in 5 years and we can, earmark it in the capital planning budget, that's fine. I just don't want it to turn into another farmer's market. And for those of you who are not aware, there were several feasibility planning studies done for the farmers market dating back to prior to when I started in 2012. I think the first one was maybe in 2008. So, 10, 11, 12 years, 13 years, it's a long time to talk about something. And a lot of people have been very excited about market improvements for a long time. And I really don't want, to get people excited and then say, sorry, it's going to take 15 years to do it. That's just not fair to people. So really want to understand what we could do, and then obviously line up the funding to make sure it can happen within a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. Okay. You also mentioned, I think item 7 is no mow zones.
Yeah, so we're looking to do our part from an environmental standpoint and to save some money. As all of you know, we don't have a huge budget. We do have in several parks a significant amount of grass, acres of grass that we mow that really, we mow it because we've always mowed it. And it's really not necessary. I mean, from an aesthetic standpoint, but these aren't spaces that people are using for activity. And, we would mow some pathways and, you wouldn't see these big fields of grass. We would, if it's near a road, we would, mow a couple mower widths along the edge of the road and things like that. It wouldn't just be, areas where, a lot of people are going to notice. There's a long strip that runs north-south in Emerald Park that many people probably have never seen. And we're just going to mow some pathways in there so that people can still walk in there and take their pets in there. But we literally spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to mow grass that really isn't necessary. And we can take those dollars and put those to, much better use, repairing things and doing some of the work that we really need to do. And not to mention the environmental benefits, not using as much fuel. So we're really taking a hard look at that. And it's not going to be every park. We actually kind of did a pilot program in Blanche Hall. If you know where the parking area is off of Burdick, there was a big chunk of grass that we were mowing there, and we essentially cut it in half. And, nobody said a word. We still mowed the front half, and we still have people that play Frisbee and throw a football around in that mowed area, but didn't miss a beat. And I actually think it looked better than just having it all cut. So, and that's probably saved us a few $100s over the course of the year, but those dollars go a long way. People say, well, it's only a couple $100. Well, when you have a small budget, you need to, spend it as wisely as possible. So that's what we're trying to do there.
Okay, good. Now we had a group that did a presentation on a savanna.
Yep.
At Southwestnage Park, is that correct?
Yep.
Is that still part of the plan?
Yeah, that hasn't changed. I can get an update on that project. I know that group had talked about the Oak Savanna that's at Sherwood Park as well. So I can certainly get an update on that.
And what is the plan for Kick Pool this year? Are we expecting that it will open?
I wish I knew. A lot of it obviously will be contingent on what the governor tells us over the course of the next couple months. Obviously, we want to open it. We do not want 2 years without a pool, but we'll wait and see. Obviously, we're hearing about this new, more contagious version of COVID. So I really wish I knew. We were talking as a marketing and promotions team today about, we need to make a decision probably by February. So I guess, stay tuned on that. But again, it's just really contingent on whatever the executive orders are and how things are progressing with COVID. So.
Okay. Can you comment a little bit on invasive species at Spring Valley Park?
So that is a program our landscape coordinator has initiated. And in several of our parks, we have some stuff that we just would rather not have. And I don't know all the nitty-gritty details, but some plants that we'd like to eradicate. And we're working with a group to try and remove some of those and get some grant dollars to do it. So it's not just, coming out of our budget, but just looking to address some of the invasive species in a few of our parks. Spring Valley is the one we're working on, I think in 2021. So the other one would be that we'd love to get some grant dollars for would be Woods Lake. There's some invasives, some mustard. What is that? Garlic mustard?
Garlic mustard, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad one. So there's just a few that are kind of on our list. So we're trying to do that efficiently and as economically as possible by securing some grants.
Yeah, would you ever consider just putting up like a sign that shows how to do it and people can kind of do it at their own will? Like I know I've seen that at, I think it's called Bow in the Clouds or something.
Yeah.
Instruct you how to do it. And then when people are walking around, they just do it themselves.
That, and the other thing I'd like to do is have Maggie kind of coordinate some volunteer dates. I know when I first started, there was a group that did some work at Woods Lake with some of the garlic mustard, and probably hasn't been done since. So it'd be kind of nice to organize some volunteer groups around that kind of work, because it's not glamorous and it's not really that much fun, but it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think Paul's got a great idea because so many people not necessarily will make the time to go out and do that specifically, but casually when they're out in the parks, they pick it up all the time. We've done that numerous times at Glen Park, but there's no place to dump it, so we always end up carrying it home. So, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
So yeah, signage to encourage people and give appropriate instruction, I think is fantastic.
Yep, I will definitely. I wrote a note on that, and we'll have our Parks Division work on that. There's a couple areas, especially that wouldn't be very difficult to do.
And I think lastly, what caught my eye is the Monarch Way Stations. That seems like a pretty unique idea.
Yep, that again is our landscape coordinator has taken the initiative to do some of that work, and really just kind of creating those spaces where the monarchs can stop by. I don't know the details. I'm not a landscaper or a butterfly person, but you see them all over town and they're really cool. So we just wanted to kind of capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think you just grow milkweed and you can basically have a way station. Right?
Michael has his hand raised, John.
Michael, you're on mute. There you go.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask a quick question about the MLK Park improvement. It said that there were some things being planned and funded, but not really details about it. So I just wanted to get an update about what plans you have for the MLK Park and whether or not it was an opportunity for residents to participate in that work during the day of service for this upcoming day.
Pam, you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah, and then you can fill in.
Okay.
But there's work that's being planned where we're going to be putting in new trees. We have stamped concrete that we're looking forward to having put in, because we have the brick pavers that's in there currently, they're outdated and in need of replacement. And so we have been looking forward to improvements taking place in that park for some time now. So we're excited about it. We have approximately maybe about like 7 to 8 flower beds in there, where we have youth groups who have adopted beds to plant flowers. We have a planting date that probably will not take place until probably the end of May or June. And so we are looking for volunteers to help with the planting of the flowers. And we're just looking at doing some wonderful programs in that park in 21. So we are excited about it. It's gonna take the community to make that park look really, really nice. And we're hoping that we can bring more of our visitors to take advantage of that park and to actually be able to look at the sculpture and to be able to sit and to, you know, maybe have a lunch or something like that. And so we're looking at having programs with the volunteer groups that have adopted some of those beds. We're looking forward to putting in or having different programs throughout the summer as well as into the winter season. And so hopefully with the youth committee that we'll be able to work together and to, you know, come up with some innovative programs that's going to take place. And so as we get closer to the time where we're going to be calling upon other people from the community that might be interested in helping with the planting, we'll of course share it with the PRAD board, as well as we'll probably be doing some community announcements. And so our organization, which is Kalamazoo Junior Girls, we adopted that park about like 33 years ago. And so there's quite a history in there, and we're really excited about that. And so as we move forward, you know, as I said, we're going to be putting in new trees, and then we're looking at doing a memorial. And so some of those trees will be dedicated to some of our community leaders that have gone on. And so with that being said, we're looking at doing like a sort of like we're working with the families right now. So these trees can have a plaque on it and tell a little bit about our community leaders. And hopefully we'll do a big community gathering once we are able to make those park improvements. We haven't set a date yet, but I would like to put out the date for June 19th, which is Juneteenth. And if that works out, that would be excellent. So Sean, there might be some other things that you might want to share in terms of time.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is the Harkins Court. The bollards have been put up, and it's really was more of an alley and a cut through than anything else. And we dealt with a lot of loitering and a ton of littering in that alley / road. And a lot of that litter would blow into the park. So we've addressed that issue, and that allows us to address the flags of cement concrete that are adjacent to that road. That would be on the south side, really too close to the trees, and the trees' roots have buckled a lot of those flags of concrete. So what we'll do is we'll remove those big flags of concrete that are around the trees, which will help the trees. And then we'll put in a walking path along that north edge of the park. So that's another nice improvement that we're looking at. And there's some other pieces of cement in there that are heaved, and we'll address those. The other thing, I don't know if you said it or not, was the just irrigation improvements throughout the park as well.
That answer your question? And you can always get in contact with myself as well. And I'd be willing to share more information or meet and give you a walkthrough when the weather permits, so that you can check. You've probably been there, I would imagine, many times. Have you? Is that one of your parks that you have an interest in?
It is. With Martin Luther King Jr. Day coming up on a couple of weeks, I just wondered about what kind of service or what kind of, emphasis could we put on, that property to kind of help along some of the work that the city has planned. So I just wanted to get an update about it, just based off of what was just presented for the 2021 plan.
And then regarding the MLK Day, in the past, there's been a partnership with the city of Kalamazoo and the universities here. And traditionally we have a program. I'm not sure on the status of what's gonna happen. City of Kalamazoo, of course, is a partner, but I'm not sure with the COVID, what type of programs are being planned as it relates to, I think it's the Black Student Caucus at Western. They normally have a program where there's a march that takes place, but with the COVID, it's hard to say what is actually going to take place for MLK Day. So we have to find out, really, talk with someone at the city, or Sean, you might know what's going on. I asked at our last meeting if any requests have been made for the use of that park on that particular day. And at that time, we had not received any requests. And I think the city manager's office, they have a coordinator that's over volunteer programs and things like that, but I have not heard anything about any activities for 21.
I will check with Patricia from the city manager's office and let you folks know what the plan is. I haven't heard anything, so my guess is because of COVID, there's not a planned gathering or activity, but I could be wrong, but I'll follow up.
Thank you, Sean.
You bet.
And Michael.
And I'd like to say, I think Pam is being a little modest. She and her Kalamazoo junior girls have worked in that park for years and years and years, and they've taken a lot of pride in that park. And I know I appreciate all the work that they've done to that park.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Any other board comments about the department preview? Any questions?
It looks great. Thanks for this report, Sean.
Thank you.
I'm excited about it.
Our 2021 calendar, Sean, I think that's you.
Yeah, that was just another planning document that I wanted to share with this group. It kind of gives you a month by month idea of, what our focus areas are for the particular months. For example, if you look at April, that's when a lot of the projects will start. And a lot of work starts to get the parks ready, restrooms and painting and water service turned on. So just really wanted to give you an idea kind of on a monthly basis, the types of things we're working on. And those are not, all inclusive. That doesn't include all the day-to-day stuff that comes up and, events that happen, when we just are asked to be a part of. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but I just want to kind of give you the highlights on a monthly basis about what we're working on.
Well, and I think what's surprising is the amount of planning that's being done in the off season. I mean, I think we all look at the parks and think, well, June, July, and August is when things are busy, but it's interesting to see all the planning that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, as a recreation professional, you get the question a lot. Well, what do you guys do in December and January? Well, we are planning the better part of the next year and, securing artists, talking about marketing, budget, what movies are we going to have? I mean, you can't just on a Wednesday afternoon decide what movie you're going to show on Friday. You got to pick, there's licensing agreements. And so there is a lot of planning, and 2020 was really difficult because it not only involved a ton of planning, but it involved a ton of adapting. And every time the executive orders changed, we had to change what we were doing. And in the midst of the pandemic, the planning was, times 10, just, from the safety factor side of things. So I really have to give the team a ton of credit. The recreation folks, the parks folks, they had to adapt. They had to, try different things and see what would work. So we do a lot of planning over the course of the winter months just to get that, calendar for the year set. So.
Very good. Benjamin, you had a question?
Yeah, that was the only attachment. The calendar did not load for me. I'm not sure if anybody else had that problem or not.
I could send it as a PDF perhaps. Maybe that would work.
Okay. The
Yeah,
rest
I
of
can
Word
do that.
documents opened fine. That was the only one that showed up blank.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other board member comments on the calendar? We'll continue. Expiring board positions. Is that Amanda?
No, wouldn't be Amanda. And we don't have Danielle or Shannon because Shannon's
okay.
sick and Danielle had to take her daughter to volleyball. So they're going to do the minutes based on the recording. So you'll get
Okay.
minutes, but
Okay.
I want to say we have 2 people that are expiring, but
I saw my name
you
on
just
the list.
re-upped and Chris just re-upped. So is it Paul?
Yeah, I think my name was on that list.
That was quick.
He's on the list. So you guys as a board probably need to talk about, because Paul can serve 2 terms before he would have to be approved for a 3rd, because we had Mika was able to serve 3 terms with city commission blessing.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Sean. So is that what you need from us then? A vote to approve Paul for another 3-year term?
If Paul's interested.
Yeah.
Paul,
Gotta
we
ask
need
that
you.
question first, probably.
Was that a yes, Paul?
Yes.
Okay,
I'd like to
okay.
for another 3 years.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Paul for another 3-year term.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Benjamin, Pam, thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I
Anyone
don't get a vote, but
opposed?
I approve.
Okay. Oh, so Shannon will send that on to the city commission, correct?
Yeah, there's a document we have to create that we send to the city clerk, and then the clerk puts it in the city commission agenda. So yep, we'll take care of that.
Okay. I wanted to take a minute to talk about board members as park representatives, park ambassadors, whatever. We've discussed this before as a board, but we have 3 new members. Basically, what I'm looking for is that the board members perhaps adopt a park that's their favorite, and basically keep an eye on it, keep their eyes and ears open, watch for graffiti, deferred maintenance, tall weeds and grass. I'm just trying to encourage the board to get into the parks, to keep an eye on the parks so that we can help Sean and Patrick keep on top of maintenance and things of that nature. That's what that topic was.
I did have a question. I heard earlier somebody mention about holding meetings at the parks. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Is like we all pick a favorite park or something like that and we hold a meeting there?
That's something separate. Typically during the summer, because of the Growlers baseball games, we will typically visit 3 or 4 parks during the baseball season so that we're not fighting with them for parking at Mayor's Riverfront Park. So that's something a little bit different.
And we want to get the board members out to our different parks, especially those that you may not have seen before. So kind of a dual purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something we've done in the past, and I know, Paul, you took this really to heart, is visiting 3 parks every single month, and then giving a little update on that. Now, John, what you're talking about is a little more involved, right? It's actually being an ambassador for 3 specific parks.
I think he was in one.
Oh, just one.
Just one. I'm just asking people to unofficially adopt a park, spend some time there, make sure that it's being maintained, pick up trash and garbage, just so that we have an extra set of eyes and ears for Sean and Patrick.
So this isn't something where you want to actually divvy up and assign. You're just saying, hey, every month, make an effort to go out to whatever one of your favorite parks is? Or do you want to assign something?
No, I'm not saying let's assign parks. I'm just saying I would like people to volunteer to do it on their own. I'm not setting that as a requirement.
Sure.
Just to volunteer to help.
Tony, sorry. An example to that is like MLK Park. I ride by there probably at least 3 to 4 days a week, and if there's a light fixture above that is blown out, or if a limb on a tree is down. And then I also do the same thing at LaCrone Park. So basically we're like policing and then reporting to Parks and Rec, if we notice anything or like the graffiti. And so basically we're sort of like adopting and just monitor, like we would notice something different if something happened at our home or something like that. So what you're wanting us to do, like you said, we talked about it before, but we want to actually, maybe be a little bit more committed and, identify the parks that you're most familiar with and to report. And if you see something, say something. Basically, that's what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Extra set of eyes.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm all for it. I continue to do that with the MLK Park in LaCrone Park, and I do it with other parks. If I happen to see something differently, I would do that.
Right.
And I do want to add, we will be starting next year, and we'll do some media releases and such, an Adopt a Park program, a more formalized, where we're looking for different groups to adopt a park. Pam, obviously, in her group have adopted MLK. We had a group of Rotarians adopt Hayes Park. I'm proud to say that my girlfriend and my daughter and I have adopted Southside Park. We did some work there last fall.
Okay.
We were able to get a little bit of work accomplished, but it's, and it's not, this is more hands-on compared to what we're talking about here. And what John is really talking about is just that extra set of eyes. And like Pam said, if you see a light out, if you see, something that maybe you think we haven't seen, all you have to do is just send us a quick email. Hey, I visited there today. I noticed, or, I drove by late at night and I saw every single light in the building was on, just that kind of stuff to let us know what's going on. And we are pretty nimble, and when we hear about it, we can jump on it pretty quickly.
Right. Park volunteer recruitment. That was another one of my topics, and I was actually hoping that Chris Patchell would be here today. Chris and his wife Natalie have a pretty significant group that has adopted Crane Park on West Nidge Hill, and they do an amazing job of maintaining the flower beds there. And I don't know how that group was started, and I guess I would love for Chris to be able to tell us how that group started and how perhaps we could develop groups like that in some of the other parks.
So I will say, God bless his wife, because his wife keeps that group of master gardeners going.
Yeah.
And they have been doing that work long before I arrived, and that park is absolutely gorgeous in the summer months once they get everything planted. So I will add that we are in the process of hiring our second special event coordinator. Part of that person's job responsibility will be to coordinate these volunteer groups and to ask groups to volunteer. We do get phone calls about groups that want to volunteer from Western and other civic groups. So we want to capitalize on that. And if somebody calls and says, hey, we want to help, we can refer them to the Adopt a Park program. And or if they want to work just a day where they have a half a day, I know like Advia Credit Union does that, where they pay their employees to do volunteer work. We want to capitalize on that. And it may not be as extensive and as well organized as the Master Gardener program at Crane, but we would love to get to that point where we have more groups like Pam's group, the junior girls, Natalie's group. I would love to get to that point. And I think those people are out there. Yeah. We've just kind of got to make it more available and publicize it a little bit more.
Well, right. Sean, what happened, I would have to say this was probably back in the 80s, where the city of Kalamazoo, we did have a formal program, Adopt a Park program. And we did volunteer recognitions and things like that. But there was at one point in time, just about every city park had volunteers to adopt them. But that program, when they started doing budget cuts and things like that, the groups start sort of like fading away, because the city would provide flowers to these groups.
Yep.
And they, but it got to the point where the groups were, paying to put the flowers in because the city didn't have the budget to do that. And so and I have tons of information about the Adopt a Park program when it was actually implemented back in the 80s. But it just sounds like it's something that I've always admired. And I know other cities do that. But like you said, you're getting the calls and things like that, but to make it more formal where, the applications can be put online or whatever.
Yep.
And we're going to have groups that will come back on board, I do believe, but it sounds like something that we don't have to really reinvent.
Nope.
It's just, making some modifications or whatever.
We're going to revive it, Pam.
Yes.
And Amanda is actually... And Amanda's already worked on the online application and information. So we wanted to wait until spring to kind of do a release of that and do some, media coverage and such. But I think we can get there. We hadn't even promoted it, and we had Hayes Park get adopted. So I really think there are some groups out there that would like to do that. And it just, if we have to, give them a couple $100, $150 for some flowers.
Yeah.
We can figure that out. If it gets to the point where, well, yeah, and we're gonna do T-shirts and
City of Kalamazoo, yeah.
Yeah, we'll. I think we can do it right and revive it, and I think it'll be a good thing for the community. So.
Yeah. Sounds great.
I like the idea, Sean, that you want to formalize something, because if I have a group of volunteers that works in a certain park, if I go away for some reason, if I move out of the city, out of the state, will those volunteers continue to be a part of a project? So I like having that information in-house so that there's that continuity.
Well, and I want our second special event person to really, reach out to groups, to really, have a social media presence. I know Amanda will help with that, but really monitor that and, just put it out there that, I know several years ago, we did some work in Lovell Street Park, which many people probably, don't know where it's at. Yes, it's on Lovell Street, but you've probably never driven by it, because unless you would kind of go the back way up to K College, you would just miss it. But, we did some pretty significant work, and I happened to drive by it again the other day, and it's totally due for like another organized cleanup. And it's just like, we don't have the resources we once have.
Yeah.
But we do have people that are willing to give their time. They'll give a half day. You folks probably remember the Hayes Park, where I think it was a couple Octobers ago, we went in and pre-cut a bunch of just overgrowth and, just some invasive species and just, scrub brush and such. And then we had, probably about 15 volunteers come in and pile it up and load it up into the truck. And that, we don't have the manpower, person power to do all that work. So if we can get a group of 15, we can pre-cut it and have people come in and do, some of the, I call it grunt work. But it makes a huge difference because it makes a huge impact in that park. And, next year Hayes will probably be ready again for another, group cleanup. But I love the thought of doing that. It just gives people that sense of ownership and a little bit of buy-in. And I'm all for it.
Perfect.
Amos is visiting me. He's joined our meeting.
I see. I saw that beautiful dog too. That was really neat, Benjamin.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, Pam. I wanted to talk briefly about ice skating in parks. Sean's probably cringing.
Yeah.
We, for some of the new board members, a few years ago, we received an ice rink that was donated to the city of Kalamazoo. And at some point, I would love for us to be able to utilize that. And I know in the past we've had problems with manpower and maintaining it, and I guess in the continuing the conversation about volunteers, I think if we had a group of volunteers that could help with something like that, I think we could make something like that happen. And I guess, Sean, are you able to?
I had a dog that had to go out. So, so the trick with the ice, and I would love to have skating in parks too, just because, there's always the need for winter activities. And
we lost you, Sean.
Before he comes back, or whenever, have we ever reached out to the Western hockey team about helping out with that?
We haven't. No, we haven't, and I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, the work comes in not with making it, it's getting it to stay frozen, and the last few winters have been just real bad. That gets warm and then it slush for a while, and then I think the key really is find the right park. Because I know several of my friends have built skate rinks in their backyard, and so I think it's doable.
We lost you, Sean. Where's IT when we need it?
Well,
Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah.
I wonder if like Millam Park would be good for that. It just seems like.
I don't know if Sean can.
But I don't think it'd be super expensive.
Yeah, Sean, there is a space at Spring Valley Park near the restrooms that's actually, to me, it looks like it was designed to be an ice skating rink.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone's familiar with that.
I am.
I've heard of that too, and I was about to make the same comment. Why don't we just try and pilot something there?
To me, there's actually a structure there. There's some sort of a foundation.
Right, with a little lip on it that it looks like it's designed to hold 6 inches of water.
And it appears to actually hold water, because I've been there during the summer and there's actually water there. So I'm wondering if that's something that Sean and Patrick can investigate for us.
Yeah, and I think there's ample parking there too, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, so I lost you for a second because the cat snuck out and whatever.
Kids.
Yeah, the spot at Spring Valley, as I recall, that was designed. I don't know if it will stay flooded. I think it certainly could. The trick for us might be the water part of it, but
Nice pose.
Technology.
Would it be worth looking at surrounding communities? I know that Grand Rapids does the Rosa Parks thing.
Right.
Is that so? I don't know if we would want to do like a free thing, or if we would want to do like a pay $1 to rent some skates, or.
it would likely be free. I don't know that we're necessarily equipped to do skate rentals and such. We would probably have to find a partner
Okay.
that had the skates and such, and might be interested in doing, like maybe week.
well, John, back to the ice skating rink in Spring Valley. It'd be interesting because there is a freshwater source just off that rink, being the body of water, and it'd be interesting to get Sean and Patrick's take on what would it be to just pump up on a really cold day a whole bunch of water, fill that thing up, and see what happens. Because I don't think we're ever going to really know unless we try something.
Right.
I think at worst we might have to work with the fire department to fill an engine with some water and then just go in and spray it in.
How do we arrange that? Who makes that call to the fire department?
I'll
I
call.
think I know who makes the call.
We are the city.
Where's Eric Cunningham?
Yeah.
But now's the time to try, right? The end of January is the coldest part of the year, so that's approaching pretty quick. So this is something, like you said, we've talked about numerous times, and we've never really done anything. So let's give it a shot.
I support that. What does the rink look like that was donated? Is it like a bunch of sideboards?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm having computer issues, but yeah, it's sideboards. I don't know if it included a liner. I don't know that we officially accepted it. I don't even know if it still exists.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the at Spring Valley, the area, it's still there because I took young ladies there to roller skate. That's what when we go to the Spring Valley, we go and we roller skate.
Yeah, I just looked up on Google Maps, and you can see it clear as day.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I can't share my screen so you guys can see it, but yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's right next to the playground. And
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
And the water is not quite as close as I thought, but it's still got to be within 100 yards of water.
Yeah.
So
I think worst case scenario might be pumping the water from the lake.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Chris had suggested. Yes.
So again, Sean, before we lose you to connection issues, how do we make that happen?
Frozen.
Ugh.
I was wondering the same thing. Does Sean have the ability to make that request, or?
Yeah, I think he'd be the person.
Sure.
Yeah, he'd be the person, or it'd be interesting to check in the Parks Department inventory of tools if they even have a pump.
Okay.
Because I'm not opposed to going out with a few of you guys in 2 weeks and pumping the thing up and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm so down.
Days, and let's just go do it.
Give it a whirl.
And Sean's gone.
One other question about skating. Does that pond or lake or whatever right there freeze over in the winter?
At Spring Valley?
Yeah. Is
I
that
don't-
like safe?
No.
I
No.
don't think
Yes,
so. I think it's
no.
it's spring fed, and I don't think that would be safe at all.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of moving water, and there's a lot of growth on it too, which makes the ice, I don't know, not great.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And to answer Pam's question, Pam, there's the structure at Spring Valley Park,
Yeah.
but there's also a structure that was donated to the city of Kalamazoo that could conceivably be put at Bronson Park or one of the other parks.
I do remember, this has been about 5 years now, that downtown Kalamazoo Incorporated, they had an ice rink on Westnick Street. It's near the Arcadia Creek where it goes through.
Mhm.
Know what I'm talking about? Right there on Westnick Street, and I think it was between Water Street. Anyway, they had issues. They tried doing that, but because our winter months are so unpredictable, they had problems where, you have the freezing temperatures, and then, they would change over. And so there was a lot of, unpredictable weather where it didn't work out too good. But I think that they tried it for a couple of years. I don't know what type of issues that the ice rink in Portage, if they deal with those same type of issues, because they have an ice rink right behind Best Buy out in Portage on Romance Road. And I think over the last couple of winters, they've had problems with the melting snow and things like that. So, we don't know what January is going to be like. Everything is so unpredictable with the weather all over the place. And so, but I think it would be fun. I think families would be interested in taking their kids out,
Well, and one of the reasons I wanted to do something like this is it's a free activity for families, and that's what we're all about, is getting families outside and exercising and being active. So that's why I think it's important for the community.
Yes. I guess.
I guess I would like to suggest to Sean that he look into it, see if we can do something February-ish, late January-ish. I mean, there's certainly interest from the board.
Yeah.
I don't know if we necessarily need to vote on anything.
But like you said, Chris, if you and Sean maybe and Patrick go out and take a look at it, that's a start,
Yep,
starting point.
That's a start. So.
All right, yeah, I will do that. I missed the better part of it. I had to relocate closer to a Wi-Fi node, but hopefully I don't lose you all again.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate goal has always been, or not the goal, but the the idea was to get some sort of rink like that portable one in Bronson Park, which I think would be amazing.
Yeah.
So I think starting at something that already exists in Spring Valley is a great start.
I
Right.
agree.
I think ultimately Bronson Park would be one of the better locations for it. I think it would get more activity. I think Spring Valley Park you know, having an ice skating rink there would introduce a lot of people to that park. I don't think that park gets a lot of use, and I think that's what we're looking for. So.
Yep, totally agree. I will start looking into it and get back with you before the next meeting even.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Yep. Thank you.
Can we move on to the additional?
Ben had his
item?
hand up.
Oh,
I mentioned it earlier when it froze. I'll just send you an email, Sean.
Okay.
And then before we moved on, I just wanted to clarify our talk about the ambassadorship for the parks. Is that something that we want to start to prepare now for a future discussion? Or what was the work that was along with that request?
I'm just looking for eyes and ears in the parks. If you, like Pam said, if you see something, say something. Trash that needs to be picked up, preventative maintenance types of things, you know, just eyes and ears in the parks. Chris Bowl, you had a comment?
yeah, we had a comment. My son has picked up skateboarding along with a lot of his friends, so we've been going down to Davis Street Park a lot, which is fantastic. Again, the Parks Department did a great job putting that together, but we wanted to stretch our legs a little bit, and we went to Upjohn Park and to use the skate park there, and it was locked. And I remember, John, you saying something about graffiti in that park, and I guess I want to understand, like, what type of graffiti were we finding? And another comment I want to make is something that you've been making in this meeting throughout, is that we need to give everybody every single opportunity they can to get outside. And if it's like over Christmas break, there wasn't any snow, it was 35 degrees out, and my son wanted to go skateboarding, it's like, hey, he's not the only one who got a skateboard for Christmas. A lot of kids did. You know, let's try to get them outside and keep these parks open as long as it makes sense. And the sad part is we ended up going to Portage and using their skate facilities. So, so I felt a little bad about that. So yeah, John, can you talk a little bit about the graffiti there and maybe what we can do to mitigate that and figure out a way to possibly keep some of these outdoor activities going into the winter if we can?
Yeah, the graffiti I have seen has actually been on the skateboard park. I know Sean had a crew come in, I think late summer, and they did a really great job of repainting the skateboard park. I have seen gang graffiti, or what I believe is gang graffiti, on the trail through Upjohn Park and on the street signs through Upjohn Park. And I actually have taken pictures of it, and what I'll do is I'll email them to the board once we're done with the meeting. So I assume it's gang graffiti. That's the only thing I can assume that it is.
Yeah, because if there's graffiti in the skate park, it almost goes with the theme of the skate park.
Right.
And I guess the only thing I would oppose to if there's anything hateful in it. But if it's gang related, I honestly would have absolutely no idea. And I don't know what the consequences of having your skate park tagged in gang graffiti is. So I don't even know if that's a bad thing.
Right.
So Sean, maybe this is a toss to you then. Is he gone? He's not even here.
Is that why it's closed? I'm confused, I guess.
So he said, so I went to the park and I immediately sent him an email, which I did not expect to get a response from until Monday. And he responded within the next like 10 minutes. So I felt bad about it.
Yes.
But he had said that it was closed essentially for the winter and for graffiti. But if it's dry out, that stuff should be open. If it's covered in 6 feet of snow, that's fine. But then, like, who's going to graffiti it if it's covered in snow and ice?
Right.
Have a board for specifically for graffiti people. Give them a board, a graffiti board, identified as a graffiti board, and
So
Yeah,
might
they're gonna
not-
do that, right?
just let, if they, really want to pass time or whatever, experiment with their art,
and
let
I-
them have a graffiti board. As
Right.
long as it's-
And I
Um,
think if we're having a discussion of whether something should be open or closed, I think we should always err on the side of being open.
Yeah.
Just so we can give people an opportunity to use it.
I agree.
Right. Right.
So I'd like Sean to reopen it. It's probably covered in ice right now, but who knows? If the sun comes out eventually, one day it'll all melt and we can go use it. So yeah, so I wanted to make that comment.
Okay.
And then I did have a second about Glen Park. I feel like we put the ball in Winchell Oakwood neighborhood board, and they've just kind of sat on it. And I don't want to go through with this without them being informed, but I don't think they have a right to stonewall it if just by not having interaction with us. But looks like Sean's trying to get back in.
I'll try to attend the next meeting too. I get those emails, so
Yeah.
see.
Paul, did they have a December meeting?
I didn't see one in the past month or so.
Yeah, I didn't think they had one either. And if that's going to be the case, that they do the same thing in January, let's just meet with Pete and a couple of the other board members, and let's just have this discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Sean, did you get any of that?
Sean can read
Caught the
the
tail end, but yeah, I would say yes.
Okay, so we're good. So we're opening up John Skate Park, and we're gonna have a meeting. Perfect.
map.
And you're cooking dinner for all of us one night.
I didn't hear that part.
And he's filling the ice rink.
He's building the ice rink.
I guess to give Joseph and Michael and Benjamin some insight, Glen Park is currently a green space in the Oakwood Winchell neighborhood that Chris is spearheading can we classify it as a BMX?
We can't.
Okay.
Because I'll take it from here, John. So Winchell is essentially underutilized for parks as far as the city parks distribution goes. And we do have a few parks that aren't being really used for anything. One of them is Glen Park. It's on just north of Parkview and just south of Kensington, in the Winchell neighborhood. It's not super big, is it maybe 3 acres, but it's got some decent terrain, and I think it would be an amazing place to put a kids pump track in for people in elementary school age, because you could start all the way in the southeast corner and essentially flow towards Kensington and build a loop that way. I think it'd be awesome. So we've had a few of the residents put up, I don't know what the right word is, but they're not happy about that idea. And so as a group, we're attempting to move forward with the project in the most appropriate way. So the next step would be for us is to have another discussion with the Winchell Oakwood Neighborhood Association board members, and go from there.
Have they expressed anything that they would desire?
They would prefer that stay a green space.
Yeah,
That's all they want.
I wouldn't say, I'd say you're just saying that's for the neighbors. Yeah, the neighbors who are opposed.
yeah. And
Not necessarily the whole neighborhood association feeling that way.
you get a sense that there's a few houses that border that view that park as essentially an extension to their backyard.
Yep.
They don't want to lose it.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying that's true for everybody. There is one guy who lives on the bordering the property, and he thinks it's a fantastic idea. But he's biased. He's a mountain biker. But yeah. I guess another side note is John Hoadley, our former state rep, lives on it, and he and his partner aren't super excited about it. But if you like kids and you like the environment, it's a no-brainer. So
Where's it at again, Chris?
it's in Glen Park, just north of Parkview Ave.
Okay.
So when you say move forward with the discussion, is that with explain that to me? Just what that entails.
So the Oakwood Winchell Neighborhood Association represents people who live in the Oakwood neighborhood. In the Oakwood neighborhood. And so we want to have a discussion with them that says, hey, this is why we want to do it. Actually, we've already had that discussion. And they've actually had a laundry list of items that we need to address. And I feel like we've addressed all of them, or we've found that a lot of them are complete non-issues. And we want to have, and that information has been delivered to them, but a further discussion hasn't taken place. And that would be the last piece to just sewing everything up with them. So
it's not that they didn't want to do it. Like we answered your questions, we addressed some of your concerns, we put the ball back in your court, and now we just haven't heard anything back about, moving this project forward.
Yeah, and correct. And Sean had said that we really don't need their approval. This is just doing our due diligence of, civility or public discourse or whatever.
And they feel like they definitely have some ownership over it just because of they have a neighborhood plan, and they want to make sure that this fits in their neighborhood plan that they've submitted to the city. And so that is their tie into it too. And we want to make sure we're kind of fitting in that neighborhood plan as well with this project.
Any other questions? John, I apologize. I felt like I was a little all over the place there. And Paul,
No, not at all.
Thanks for mentioning the neighborhood plan, because that's really important.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Paul. I don't see any citizen non-agenda topics. I see Eric has joined us. Eric, do you have a few comments for us?
Just wanted to say thank you to those who signed up for another 3 years, and thank you to those who signed up for the first 3 years. I am in agreement. It sounds like we're pretty much all on the same page of trying to get people outside as much as possible, especially during this pandemic, because I think it'll be quite some time before we fully recuperate from everything that's transpired over the last year. So I love the ingenuity around the skating rink, and that location in Spring Valley Park does sound pretty cool. So I look forward to the journey.
Thanks, Eric. I don't see Sean here to help us with a Friends of Recreation report. Or the Parks and Recreation Director report. Amanda, do you have any comments to make?
Okay, she joined us. Amanda joined us. I thought she was absent today.
Amanda is city staff.
Right, but I thought she wasn't with us today. No?
Well, she's
I just
there.
see her name.
Danielle is missing, and oh my gosh,
She might have.
Shannon,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
Amanda might have stepped in really quick just to put me into the meeting. I'm in motion, or I'm out on the road, so I wasn't able to utilize my link. So she might have just stopped in for 1 second to do that.
Oh, Mom, she keep calling me.
Okay.
Oh.
Thanks, Eric. Board member comments, Chris Bowl.
Nope, none other than Davis Street Park is fantastic. So, and we'll be continuing to go there, and we can give you guys an update every month on ongoing thing.
Pam Rowland,
No comment.
Paul.
Even though Chris just had glowing comments about Davis Street Park, I guess I will say that it's on my regular running route, and I've noticed during the icy days that of sidewalks that were cleared, Davis Street was definitely iced over. And I guess maybe I'll send an email to Sean, but just kind of concerned about the winterization of these parks. They get mowed in the summer. Can we get them shoveled in the winter? I think that all the sidewalks should be shoveled so that they can be used when it's clear enough. So that's a hope. Anyway, everything else in Davis Street looks good.
Thanks, Paul. Benjamin, any further comments?
I guess it's pretty cool to be able to make a comment, so that's pretty nice. The only thing that I've asked a couple people when I've gone out to the parks is a light at the dog park. Maybe not one that's on all night, but just, when people come to the park when they get out of work at 5 or 6, just until like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something like that. Especially a lot of women have brought up that being in a dark neighborhood like that, just having some light, just 1 or 2 lights or something would be nice. That's the only thing that I've heard about. So thanks.
Is there a dog park? How many dog parks are there? Is there one in specific that you're thinking of?
Yeah, there's one city-owned dog park. It's on
Prairie.
Alamo. Yeah.
It's Prairie.
Yeah, it's off
Prairie.
It's called
Prairie. Off of Alamo.
Yep.
Okay, I've seen that one. Yeah.
And I'm really excited about the ice rink idea.
Great. Michael, any comments?
No comments, but I do have a water hose. So if we need to make that ice rink happen, just let me know.
Thanks, Michael. Joseph, any comments tonight?
John, just great dialogue and very happy to be a part of this group.
Perfect. We appreciate the 3 of you joining us. The only comment I had, actually, I was going to ask for a Glen Park update, so I'm glad we had that. And another thing, I assume we're recording, is that I would like Sean to ask staff if they would send us perhaps a map of the city parks so that some of our new members have a better idea of where all of the parks are located. And perhaps, maybe some other helpful information so that all of us have a better idea of, basically what we're talking about and where parks are located. So.
Is there no form of orientation for new members?
We have never had a formal orientation process, and that's probably a good idea. And perhaps that's something we should discuss at a future meeting.
I was given a book that's about 20 or 30 years old, maybe, like an old handout that has a lot of park locations, and was said I could, that was my only orientation when I joined a few years ago. And so they probably still have those books. They don't get used much, but it's outdated, and it's 20 years old.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. I think we are adjourned for the night.
I also wanted to mention that there were no public comments at this time also.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks
See
for
everybody
coming.
next month.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone. Hey, good
Happy
kid.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's, everybody.